Boise State students and community members rallied outside the Capitol steps today. The rally was in response to a letter sent by an Idaho State representative calling on BSU to cut a series of diversity programs. The letter was sent by Republican Representative Barbara Ehart and co-signed by 27 other state lawmakers. Ehart says the inclusion programs increase tuition and go against the, quote, Idaho way. KTVB spoke with BSU student and rally organizer Camila Diaz about today's demonstration.
I had just never seen any of the representatives there that co-signed the letter at any of our events, and I'd really welcome them to come, see what we're all about, see that we're trying to promote diversity and inclusivity, and that means everyone, not just students of color or students with other marginalized identities.
There was also a voter registration booth at the rally to encourage people to let their voice be heard.
There we have it, the non-Garth Brooks story over the weekend. Blessed to be with you. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Do want to thank Ray Amaya, taking a couple days off. Always great to have him back here with us. Jared doing a good job, but we are back and at him and ready to roll. And yes, wouldn't it be nice if we lived in the Garth Brooks world where 86,000 people hung out, had a good time, drank alcoholic beverages, and the world was a great place. We'd like to buy the world a Coke and keep it company. But unfortunately, that's not the way in the world that we live in. And having had a chance to look at the coverage over the weekend, over the non-event, as we predicted it would be at Boise State University, where you had liberal, progressive students, and it is their right, this is the First Amendment, to go protest the letter from, 21, 26, 28 conservative lawmakers saying there are some real issues at the College of the Blue, right? College of the Blue, if you will. First of all, you have more people coming in from California, it seems, than people from Idaho. And have we become just one giant big service station to allow people from California to come in, get their kids an education, buy homes, and take over the state of Idaho? Well, Kevin, there is no law against that. Whether you live in Idaho, whether you're a native, or you've been here for how long, it doesn't really matter. Heck, Kevin, you're from east of the Great River, and you would be correct. You would be very correct. But you take a look at our universities and what they're graduating this year. More kids not into politics, more kids not into, I don't know really about anything except maybe technology, except if it involves socialism, it involves the nanny state. And look, I think inadvertently these conservative lawmakers have given us another issue. If you're not familiar with the case, you had a group of conservative lawmakers, actually one, and then you had a bunch of people co-sign it saying, look, President Trump, you're new here. You need to get rid of some of these programs that are exclusive to the American way of life. And I'm paraphrasing here. And I'm, again, looking at this as we get ready, during the dog days of summer before Robert Mueller's testimony. And many of you have brought this up to me, Kevin, and you've brought it up for years, that we have a problem at Boise State University. Well, how can you be anti-Boise State? Not at all. But if you're going to have all of a sudden these studies for the marginalized people, what about conservatives? Jeff Sessions, one of the major things that he accomplished before he got run was to label out the lack of free speech at Boise State University. And it's time for a new start. You have President Trump, who, after talking to a few astute colleagues over the weekend, is making the rounds, going to all these state legislators, and they go, boy, she doesn't sound like a liberal. Making the public relations move to, hey, President Trump, can you allow the person with the wheelchair to watch Garth Brooks? Sure, we'll take care of that. Wearing her Boise State boots. But, the wolf in sheep's clothing, I don't know what to make of President Trump. She comes from a very liberal academic institution. Conservatives tell me, very liberal agenda. And you look at the Ada County commissioners, we have two liberals right now running the joint. And Commissioner Visser outgunned, outnumbered right now. You had good men voted out. And you have the state of Ada, the largest county in the state, teetering back and forth. Will it be controlled by the libs, who desperately want to take over the state like they've taken over the city of Boise? Or will the conservatives prevail? That's where it comes down to. So, again, it would be nice to sit back and go, boy, I'm glad you had a beer and Maybe you took your water thing out over the weekend, and that's great to do. It's great to have a good time. But on the other hand, we just can't check out as much as we'd like to. And again, as I was sitting there monitoring the social media and looking at this big protest, it's funny. We have pro-conservative movements all the time with much larger crowds, and we don't get any coverage. And you have a bunch of kids that are saying, well, we want diverse programs that cost a lot of money. No one's talking about cutting programs, but you have to take a look at, you can't have it both ways. And by the way, you have a thought on Boise State, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We're not talking football here, but you can't have it both ways. There's been one show in the Treasure Valley that's talked about student loan debt. And that's maybe because I'm blessed to work with a bunch of young people. We all went through that. We all now go through credit card debt, mortgage debt, debt, right? That's why we have Dave Ramsey on the station. But you take a look at all these programs, and they want to keep adding programs. Well, that costs money. And then you have the tuition going up, not 3%, not 4%, 6%. Now, where are those costs going? To build more buildings? To take over a section of Boise? To become the largest employer? To outdo St. Luke's? When you're looking at Boise State and it's growing, now, are those values representing the taxpayers? Are those values representing the community? It's funny when people say the Idaho way. Does that only apply to people that were born in Idaho? I mean, really, does that only apply to the people that were born in Idaho? To me, maybe. I always like it. And look, I've done many moves in my life. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. When you come into a place and go, yeah, it's the California way, it's the Oregon way, now it's the Idaho way. And, what is the Idaho way? I think it's very fiscally conservative. A libertarian bent, but not that we go crazy, wacky, zany lib that you see in the city of Boise. But it's fascinating to me, the coming battles. And I think that this letter and the response from the state legislative Democrats, I think we've opened up a can of something here. And when people bring up President Trump, I would urge the conservative lawmakers to do a couple things. Number one, repeal the grocery tax. Prove that you are a conservative state. Number two, when President Trump comes up there, ask her legitimate, fair, and honest probing questions about the direction of the state, of the university. People say, well, Kevin Miller, there's free speech on campus. Apparently not for conservatives at Boise State. That's number one. Number two, well, she looks nice in the Boise State cowboy boots. Why do we want to cause any problems? Well, you see what happens when you just kind of let things roll. No wrestling program. When you let things roll, you just kind of sit there and say, there you have it. Why are there liberals moving in all over the place? Why are people moving into this country that don't have proper papers, right? That's one topic. The other topic is at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you heard at the top of the hour, the president going back and forth once again with the squad, although I don't really think about calling them the squad. That seems to be belittling to them. But you have Cortez, Presley, Tlaib, Omar, the crew, and the president of the United States saying, I don't believe they're capable of loving America. And you have their defenders saying, this is horrible. President Trump is a racist. President Trump is a bad President Trump. President Trump should be run from office. Robert Mueller, why didn't you get him? But deep in your heart, when you hear people saying Al-Qaeda, they don't denounce Al-Qaeda, fundraisers for Hamas, Hezbollah, criticizing the folks at Black Hawk Down. Tell me, how can you love your country if you're criticizing Black Hawk Down?
USA! 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 USA!
A lot going on this morning. We'll get back to that in a minute. But first, the President of the United States crashed a wedding. That's right. He was in New York back home having a good time, and he stopped in on a wedding over the weekend. Now, it took place at Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey, and the crowd was just excited. All of a sudden, can you imagine being at your wedding or somebody's wedding, and you go, oh, man, I got to do another one of these, and boom, there's the president.
USA! USA! USA!
You got to believe nobody's saying thank you, Obama. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. So we've got the president versus the squad. The Iranians are going crazy. And back to this point, the future of education, the future of higher education in the state. And by the way, does Garth Brooks not like the Idaho Vandals? I mean, really, he's waving the Boise State flag. How many of those folks, attended? I'm sure a lot of them, they love BSU. But I was thinking to myself, gosh, if you're a Vandal fan, you got to be kind of bummed out, if you will. More coming up next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Begin with Trump's presidency. This is the president the Republican Party created for the past few decades. But long before Trump came in office, you had white supremacists roaming the halls of Congress. This isn't even the first time a white supremacist has occupied the White House.
This is not a strategic issue. It is a national security issue. It is a moral issue. It is an ethical issue. And to the degree that we allow Trump to make this about policy, when the reality is, look, we know he just hates 4 brown women. These are sort of modern day lynchings. These, Republicans would have been mad about these 4 women regardless of what they said and did. We have to understand that this is not strategic. It's moral, and it has to be looked at that way.
But Donald Trump really has revealed something, which is not just the racism. That's the stuff he's been doing. That is white nationalism, is it not? To say.
There we have it. You've got the regulars on the Joy Bear Show going back and forth on this. Kevin Miller in the morning here. AM Joy, not Joy Bear. My mistake. It is Monday. Taking your calls about the issues that matter to you at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. It's really shame on the National Democratic Party that you can't have a debate anymore with people blessed with a lot of pigment or people like me blessed with not so much pigment. Right? Because everything is racial. Everything is racial. And instead of objectively reporting, we have the reporters taking sides. Liz Cheney going toe-to-toe with the young lady, I don't know her name, on CBS.
Of their country.
You've made that point,
Margaret. The rest of the world is also watching this, though.
That's right.
Canada's prime minister said the comments made were hurtful, wrong, completely unacceptable. Germany's chancellor said these sentiments are in opposition to her impressions about the U.S., and she expressed solidarity, in her words, with the attacked women. The Prime Minister of the UK issued a statement condemning this, of New Zealand. These aren't members of the media. These are world leaders. Should Americans find the comments from the president acceptable?
Margaret, listen, I know you want to continue to talk about this as though it had to do with race. I know you want to continue to talk about it as though it had.
All those world leaders
Margaret, I just let you go through. Look, I don't think the American people are going to look to foreign leaders to tell us who should lead the nation. They're not going to look to foreign leaders to tell us whether or not we should be a socialist country. Thank goodness we won't do that. We depend upon those people who are elected. And I think that when you see the Democratic members of Congress standing up and saying that they want to, that we have concentration camps on our borders, that they want to provide free health care for illegal immigrants, that they want to end private health insurance, that they want to impose socialism on this country, they need to defend those policy positions. And we are going to take every opportunity to make sure the American people, who are the ones that are going to make this choice come November 2020, recognize the fundamental choice that we're all facing.
There we have it. What about the socialism? What about them calling everything concentration camps? The press doesn't cover that, does it? But here's a story involving a concert in Idaho that is getting national attention. It's not the good kind of national attention. It has nothing to do with Garth Brooks, but it is getting national and international attention. Apparently, there was a concert in Jerome, Idaho, that was supposed to be the biggest, best ever. In fact, I had a friend of mine say to me, yeah, I'm hearing stories, Kevin. There's a concert in Jerome, but it might be canceled because of ICE. And then you have these public service announcements, people saying, if ICE comes to your door, know your rights. Well, if you're in the country illegally, sadly, you're breaking the law. And in my personal opinion, I don't think you have any rights. Do criminals have rights? Apparently they do. But if you're in the country illegally, as a non-citizen, do you have the right to say no to ICE? Let's take a look at that. And I'm going to tell you more about this situation in Jerome. We'll get your thoughts next. Our time is 6:24. You're listening to KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Traffic and weather together. Good morning, Dave. And Kevin Miller in the morning here. So we have this big event in Jerome, Idaho. Going to be a big concert. People are looking forward to it. Probably their version of the Boise Music Festival. Well, word comes out that ICE is coming to town. That's right. And it's just like getting pulled over or spoken to by a police officer. If you've done nothing wrong, what's the problem? Really, what's the problem? But apparently there are a lot of people in and around Jerome, Idaho, that fear ICE. At 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Now, again, we can sit there and glowingly talk about how hot the weather is going to be, what we had for breakfast, the Garth Brooks show, and give you the happy news. But the happy news makes you happy, and it's kind of like a sugar high. Then it goes away, right? I don't know if we're the show that's without carbs, but at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, think about this. Maybe the situation in Jerome, Idaho is like the canary in the coal mine. That we have this situation involving people that are in this state illegally, so much so that they canceled a concert. And now we have, well, what's going on in Idaho? What's going on in Idaho that a concert was canceled? And I'm thinking, is it that bad here? Is it that bad here that we're canceling concerts because the community, and I guess that's the code word for this stuff, the community is worried about being arrested and deported. And the president's made a lot of big waves lately going after the squad back and forth, but whatever happened to we're going to deport folks? Whatever happened to the massive ICE raids that were going to happen that people are, so outraged about? Now we have a report out from the border saying that we have a massive amount of Africans coming into the country illegally. Can we say that? Is that a racist statement? No. That's what's going on. A massive amount of people from the continent of Africa coming into the country illegally. The word is out that we can't stop people. Now, you take a look at this and you think to yourself logically, here we have a concert, just like Garth Brooks, right? Garth Brooks, great event. Everybody's having a good time. Everybody's looking forward to a concert, even in the upcoming oppressive heat, right? And instead of enjoying the concert, people are so concerned, they're so fearful, and quite frankly, perhaps there's so many people breaking the law that the law doesn't even stand. We have members of Congress, people running for the presidency saying, let's get rid of the laws, that we decide to cancel a concert just because, well, we're afraid people are going to get arrested. Now, could you imagine that? Could you imagine so many people breaking the law, so many people sitting back that you have to cancel a concert? By the way, it's funny, you heard KTVB's coverage of the Rally for Diversity or the Boise State Initiatives or whatever. They said about 100 people. The Idaho Statesman proving once again why they're losing listeners, why they're losing readers, why they're just plain losing, saying hundreds showed up. The Statesman never covers conservative rallies, only when to take shots. It's crazy. We'll go to Ron in Meridian quickly on KIDO Talk Radio. Ron, good morning.
Hey, Kevin, what's going on again this morning?
Welcome, brother.
Hey, man, you know what? If you look at this whole thing, which has been going on how long, about immigrants and people coming to the country illegal, this has been happening a long time. And now I think the reason why they're afraid is because they know that they're in the wrong. I mean, you think about it, if you're fearful of something, then you know you've done something wrong. And the only way that you can, look at it is you got to either hide or you got to go back where there wasn't any fear. So my question is, if they're here illegally, we're a free country and so on. We need to help our brothers and sisters and so on from, countries that are, with aggression and oppression and so on and so on. But, there are legalities to it, and I think these people need to realize that. And if they would just take the time, and be patient, they could become legal American people, if you want to put it that way.
Well, they've got to obey the law.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's laws for certain things. Man's laws and God's laws. Man's laws, yeah. They were written how long ago? We need to abide by them. And if you don't, again, Donald Trump is right. I don't agree with a lot of stuff he does, but I do agree that if you don't like this country and you don't like the freedoms that you have and you want to make it a country where you came from, then why did you even come here? So anyway, that's it for me, Kevin. Have an awesome day, brother. Praying for you. Always.
God bless, Ron. Take care.
Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. And you just heard Girls with Guns 2019. I believe this is our last week of collecting contestants. We want to make sure that you get your chance to win a free safe, a free rifle, a year-long, that's right, a year-long membership to see our friends at Independence Indoor Shooting. You're going to love it when you go there. And again, we need to make sure that we get back there. We apologize for the technical difficulties we had the last time we were at Independence Indoor Shooting, located in beautiful Meridian, Idaho. Joining us now, Simon Owen, Fox News Radio on KIDO Talk Radio. Some fascinating new details coming out involving this United Kingdom tanker, this British tanker, and the Iranians. Simon, good morning.
Morning, Kevin. Yes, Britain's Prime Minister has been huddled here today with government ministers and officials holding an emergency security meeting as this British oil tanker sits captured in a heavily guarded Iranian port. This is the Stena Impero. It was captured on Friday. Iran is officially accusing it of safety violations, but they're not doing much to hide the true motive, which is to retaliate for Britain's involvement in the seizing of an Iranian oil tanker 2 weeks earlier. In fact, the speaker in the Iranian parliament spelled it out more clearly. He said Iranian Revolutionary Guards responded to Britain's hijacking of the Iranian tanker.
Well, people are very concerned about an escalation here. What's the reaction in Britain to this?
Well, I mean, we're waiting to hear. This happened on Friday. Over the weekend, the Defence Secretary and others in the UK have said that this was a hostile act, but they haven't given many clues as to how they're going to retaliate. One of the defence ministers said we're going to be looking at a series of options. So it doesn't sound like Britain is looking at a military response. Instead, we think they could perhaps go for asset freezes or maybe some kind of other economic or diplomatic possibilities. There's also a wider question which the Trump administration has been talking about in recent weeks, which is what security can be put in place to protect ships going through this particular stretch of water, which is the Strait of Hormuz in between Iran, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates. It's a very narrow waterway, but it's strategically very important because something like 1 in 5, something like a fifth of the world's oil supplies travel through this channel. So it may be that Britain looks to come up with some kind of plan that protects ships in the bigger picture as well. But experts on the sort of immediate response say that the UK is kind of limited in what it can do. There's already massive American sanctions on the Iranian economy, so there's not much further you can tighten the screws in that regard. And one expert, Kevin, put it like this. He said, what do? We rant and rave and we shout at the ambassador and we hope it all goes away.
True. It just seems the Iranians, Simon, you've covered them for years, continue to provoke and almost go to the limit, whether it's shooting down a drone, saying the Americans shot down their own drone, and now seizing these tankers.
Yes, exactly. The Iranians taking out a U.S. drone and then supposedly the U.S. doing the same in response last week. We've got Britain being involved in the capturing of an Iranian oil tanker and now Iran doing the same in retaliation. There have also been incidents with a series of mysterious attacks on other oil tankers that were docked in this part of the world. We think probably with mines that were stuck to the side of them, and then a number of them exploded, and the U.S. has accused Iran in that as well. Ultimately, the Trump administration, and it is the Trump administration's maximum pressure, as they call it, campaign on Iran that is provoking the Iranians to behave in this way. In Washington, the White House is convinced that this kind of American pressure will bring Iran to the table, that it will come back crippled by American sanctions, or certainly hobbled seriously by American sanctions, and will say, let's talk, let's thrash out a nuclear deal. At the same time, we've had a couple of years of this now, and it's not made the Iranians behave in a different manner. If anything, they've got more volatile. But certainly there are senior members of the Trump administration who remain convinced that this is the way to go, put up with these provocations and volatility now, and they believe that at some point Iran will change course.
Well, I don't know what more you can do before military action seems to be inevitable.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure because neither side wants, a war. President Trump heading into an election campaign. Does he want to be campaigning with American troops in Iran? I don't think. I think a number of his voters would find that a horrific prospect. The Iranians can do without a confrontation with the most powerful military in the world. The concern throughout these tensions, though, has been something going awry, some kind of miscalculation, or something gets misdirected, something lands and kills Americans or British or whatever, and that forces the country involved, effectively forces it to respond in a much stronger manner. A talk of asset freezes wouldn't handle it on that occasion. That's the concern, is that this accidentally becomes a wider conflict. I don't think either side, the US or Iran or now Britain, involved in this as well. I don't think any of those countries are looking for a war, however volatile the Iranians' behavior might be. But there is concern in a number of governments that there could be a miscalculation, and that's where this really the tensions would escalate very, very rapidly.
All it would have taken was someone to take a shot at those Iranians, and there you have it. A very volatile situation. But Simon, as you know, as a veteran of journalism covering situations all over the world, the Iranians seem to be the one constant. And I really, I thought once Crazy Mahmoud left, things would be different, but I'm kind of missing Crazy Mahmoud.
The former president, yes, who made some famous appearances in New York at the United Nations. I mean, ultimately, it comes down to what the supreme leader decides, and he is still very much in the hardliner category.
Simon Owen, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. As Maggie said earlier, if you're just tuning in, Meridian police are searching for a 27-year-old Texas woman after they say she tried to kidnap her biological child from the children's legal guardian. This happened yesterday at Holy Apostles Church. It's funny because Holy Apostles Church, I go there every Sunday morning. People see me stumbling around on my way to the Adoration Chapel, but 630 North Meridian Road, about noon on Sunday, so after the 11 o'clock Mass, big showdown happened. You have Eden Hope Rodriguez of Texas tried to kidnap her 8-year-old child, but the legal guardian thankfully was able to wrest the child free, and they fled inside the church. Police were called. Rodriguez then ran away. Now, the scary part about this is police say they have reason to believe that she's got a gun. And this woman, this 27-year-old, appears to be violent. She's Hispanic, 5'3", 100 pounds, light brown hair, brown eyes, seen in a blue-gray long-sleeve shirt, white pants, dark ankle boots. Now, the good news is she apparently is driving a car that is easily recognizable, a 2014 Ford Festiva with Texas license plates JTL 1009. That's a lime green Ford Fiesta. Now, if it were a Subaru or a pickup truck, good luck. But a lime green Fiesta with a Texas license plate JTL 1009. Call the police. Ada County Dispatch 377-6790. That's 377-6790. Don't attempt to make contact. Apparently, they believe she is armed. And if you're armed and dangerous and you're trying to take a kid from a church, that shows you the level of depravity I believe this person has. And thank goodness the folks at Holy Apostle were there to protect that little kid. If you're a parent, you're a grandparent, a guardian, whatever, as you know, I don't have to tell you, children are such a blessing, young or old, and then you have someone trying to steal a kid from the church. Crazy. Speaking of crazy, the ICE and Twin Falls immigration people were all afire over the weekend because it was a concert that didn't happen. Why? Well, people thought that ICE was coming. Maybe that's another reason why we should just get rid of everything. We're going to worry about ICE coming. Is it that bad when we're talking about breaking laws? When we're talking about breaking laws and everything else, that people have broken so many laws that the laws don't matter. But what does matter is a concert, right? Crazy. So let's get to it here. We go to KMVT Television in Twin Falls, Idaho. They're the big dog there. Let's see how they covered this story.
We asked whether or not we could see any raids conducted here in Idaho over the weekend, or if we could see anyone detained here in Idaho as a result of those raids. A spokesperson for Immigrations and Customs Enforcement says they won't release that information, and that most of those arrested through ICE's enforcement and removal operations either had a criminal conviction, pending criminal charge, or illegally re-entered the U.S. after previously being removed. And while this weekend's raids are expected to target 10 major U.S. cities, immigration attorneys like Brian Tanner here in Twin Falls are preparing for a possible impact.
And we are taking this seriously. We are, trying to talk to our clients, trying to get the word out, trying to get prepared.
Brian says when operations like this are
Hold on, I'm sorry. What are you going to do? So, what you're trying to get ready, are you going to the store to buy bread and milk? Think about this, and, that's for a chuckle, but at 580-5436, we've got this immigration attorney. We're getting ready. We're talking to our clients. So are you harboring people here illegally, sir? Kurt in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Kurt.
Good morning, Kevin. Hey, I just wanted to call in and say, I don't know if it's just a scare tactic or if it's really that prevalent with so many illegals here, because I used to work construction, and there was a lot of illegal Mexicans that work construction. They're very good workers and everything, but they're still illegal because they're taking jobs that most people back in the day didn't want to have. So I know here in Idaho, especially out in the rural counties, if you will, compared to Ada County, there's a lot of agriculture and that kind of stuff, stockyards and that. And that's the kind of work that these guys are willing to do because other people don't do it. So I think there's a lot of illegals here, and it wouldn't surprise me if they should have a raid. And that's why they didn't want to show up for the concert, because they know, or they think, that there possibly could be ICE raids.
Well, that's an indictment on our state and our state government if we have so many illegals that the concert's going to be canceled. And now we have this defense attorney going, well, I'm talking to my clients, we're getting ready, as if it's a big storm, and you're thinking, well, where's the enforcement? Where are the people going, you really shouldn't be taking jobs from Idahoans, and I believe in state government they have E-Verify. Why doesn't everybody have E-Verify?
Well, that's a good question, brother. I'm totally for E-Verify, and I mean, we should have had it for years ago, but they don't want to do it. These guys come in, especially seasonal workers, if you will. They travel around and they do the work, and that's how they. I don't want to say it's almost like a necessary evil, if you will, because other people don't want to go around and pick lettuce or whatever, onions or whatever their crop they're picking at the time. And I'm not saying that I'm for it. I'm just saying that's what happens. So I really think we need to have a federal, a state, a local, and make these people, the farmers or the growers or whatever, the employers, even for construction, verify these people, because it's the same argument, well, we need them, but they're illegal, and let's have them because nobody else wants to do the job. We need to do something, and I truly believe that President Trump ran on that card, and it's the Democrats that are stopping it. And we could have fixed this problem years ago, but nobody ever wanted to do it. I mean, go all the way back to Bush, go all the way farther back to Clinton, go all the way back even to Reagan. Nobody truly wanted to do anything about it. So I just hope that if we can get these Democrats to get off their impeach Trump campaign, maybe after this week and Mueller's done, hopefully they'll get to work and get something going.
Let's hope so, Kurt. Let's hope so. But I find it embarrassing that we're canceling a concert because so many illegals are going to be there. They fear the ICE. That reminds me, I was working in North Carolina. North Carolina was a destination state, Kurt, where you could go in, and if you're illegal, you could get a driver's license. Heck, you could get a mortgage. I don't know how, but you could.
Unbelievable.
And they're rebuilding the North Carolina State Wolfpacks football stadium. And look, the police showed up. I kid you not. A half to 75% of the workforce ran into the woods.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I know. When I worked construction, dude, that's how it was, too. I mean, a lot of people, they didn't want to work construction. Well, I loved it. And working with your hands, seeing you're building something, you're outside. But these guys, they come in, it used to be all, and I'm not trying to be a racist here or nothing, but it used to be all white people doing it. And then the white guys didn't want to do it no more, and they went to college or whatever they decided to do. And so then they got black guys to do it. Well, nothing against black guys, but they weren't as motivated, if you will. And so they started hiring Hispanics or Mexicans. And so these Mexican guys, they are workers, brother. There's no doubt about it. But they come, they make their money. And I knew guys that were sending more than half their paychecks back to Mexico to feed their families. And then they'd come up and they would just get through and they'd stay. And it was unbelievable. So I don't know the answer, but we need to have something because it's going to come to the point where there's going to be more of them than there is legal people that were born here, people that were truly citizens and residents. And then what are we going to do? There's going to be, La Raza's going to take over, and I'm waiting for Latifah to show up in Boise, to be honest with you. So
good call. Thanks, Kurt.
All right, buddy.
And we'll be ready for him. Kevin Miller on your home for Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. Rolling on the right side on this soon-to-be hot Monday. Coming up, Dave Petzo. We're going to break down all the wonderful news about the markets from the Petzo Center. First, traffic and weather together. KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Dave. And I'm Kevin Miller in the morning on your home for Fox News on the radio. KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning.